Hello there and welcome back to Painting with Martin. We're back with another short Star Wars Battle of Hoth painting video, and this is the game box here that I'm showing. It's quite large, and you can see the card art here is quite phenomenal, and it depicts, of course, the Battle of Hoth from the Star Wars movie, and it's designed for a person H+, plays 2 to 4 players and 2 to 4 players, that is with 2 copies of this base game. Otherwise it's just 2 players. Plays it in about 30 minutes, and of course is published by Days of Wonders game. But this is not an explanation of how to play the game. Today we're actually going to show you how to paint one of these laser turrets, and it's from the Rebel side, and it's really easy. So it's going to be painted in 2 easy stages, actually 3 easy stages. First we're going to put the base paints on after we put some nice white spray can primer on it. Otherwise it looks a little bit like this, kind of like a tan color. And I've chosen to use just a regular spray can primer, just from our regular hardware store. I think it's called Rust-Oleum Matte White, if I'm not mistaken, and it sticks pretty well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint the barrel, and the barrel we are going to use an old favorite of mine called German Grey from Vallejo, and I've already put it out something on my palette, so it's simply we're going to put it on straight away, and we're going to just put it on just like this, making sure that you don't touch any of the upper areas here as such, like this. Put it on neat, and it's normally quite fine to paint just one layer of this, making sure everything is nice and covered, and is already looking quite okay. Now this is a very easy basic video where we're going to use some very I'm saying the word basic again because that's what it is. Now it looks like this when it looks fairly done. Now let's see here if I can zoom in for you guys. Let's see here, and I can move my camera slightly forward. Sorry about this. This is what it looks like. Of course you can leave this one to dry for a while, but in order for my painting video to speed up slightly more, we're going to go into the section immediately to the next stage, and just correcting one small tiny detail here, making sure everything looks top notch. Something like this. Now we're going to cover the entire miniature in a black wash, and you're going to use the same method as I used for the AT-ATs for the Imperial side, namely soak the entire thing in a black wash and use a tablecloth or an old sock or something else cloth and wipe the excess wash off the model. Kind of a simulated rain effect, which is kind of ironic because it doesn't rain on Hoth, it's like more like a snow climate. But let's assume that the rebels move these rebel laser turrets from somewhere else. So we're going to use some Nuln oil from Citadel, and you can of course shake it a little bit off camera to make sure all those pigments are nicely mixing, nice and smooth, putting it out open. And important with this one is to use a flat brush, just like we did with the AT-ATs. And we're starting off with the top side here, making sure that it already fills into all these crevices, and of course the top side here. Now the paint is slightly wet from the gun barrel, so when it's fully dried you should also of course paint the gun barrel with this one, making sure that it's like almost soaking the entire miniature in this paint. Don't forget the underside here as well, and the under of the barrel here as well too. And also, now I'm going to use my trusty painting handle, and I'm going to put it out over here. Hopefully it will stick. There we go. As such. You want to make sure that it's really as going into all these nooks and crannies as such. And as it's still drying, before it fully has time to dry, don't forget the rim, and like this. I'm taking an old cloth out here before, and I'm going to wipe most of it away. I'm wiping it downwards, simulate that rain effect. I knew it would fall. There you go. Let's see if we can mount it again with some more success this time. My putty is getting really old and worn, so that's why it normally doesn't fall. So wiping it off like this, and from the side too, and like this. speeds up the drying time. But what you really want here is to make sure, use another brush here, is to soak up this one excess part of paint here. You don't want it completely soaked here, but you want it in the crevices. So you can take a damp brush and soak it up with this one. And you want to make sure it goes into all these hinges of the door, and I'm going to leave it here aside to dry, of course. Now, when you're done, of course, clean your brush thoroughly, like this one as well. And fortunately, this one comes in a pair. Of course, you should close your paint pot, always a good practice, something like this. And that means it looks like this. Now, it looks quite nice, and it looks like all the paint went into exactly where we wanted it to be. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take some Longbeard grey for the dry brush. And we're going to open up, it's a very thick, densely pigmented paint, using another flat brush. And of course you should do this when it's completely dry. You can't be any like leftover of the wash in the residues or anything like that left. And you were going to wipe most of it off on a piece of kitchen towel paper, and we're going to simply slowly move it around on the top areas here where the light really shines. And you're going to make sure it doesn't touch the areas around where the wash is. And it's a heavy dry brush here, which means that a lot of the paint is actually there on the brush. And you're only painting the top side here to make sure that it actually stays in the crevices, all that wash. So something like this on the flat surfaces as well. And I'd only touch the areas here where I want the best highlights to go. And it's a heavy dry brush, and you can decide how much you want of the coverage you want as well. But this gives it a fairly nice. You could also do the edges here if you like, as such, using the flat on the other side of the brush, as such. And the final thing you need to do next is to do a selective wash. Again, you want it to go into these areas where the wash should have stayed, and maybe the dry brush didn't work out as well as you should hope for. And you take a very nice thin brush, and that means you go over the areas just like this. And you will see that has quite nice results. You can do it here for the door as well. You can decide how heavy you want it or how light you want it. And of course for the frontal side here as well. And this side too. Then you can use it for these little hatches if you like, entirely optional. And also these little things in the front side here, you can fill them in again, just like what we did for the eyes of the snow troopers. Same effect. These, I think, the vents, something like that. As such. You can go out to the top side. I think it looks quite nice, but I'm just going to make sure that it looks a little bit darker here on top, especially around the edges. And there you have it. Now I was going to cover the rim here around, making sure it's very dark and all around it. You can leave it whiter if you want to, or lighter if you like. Now This is a very basic approach to how to paint the laser turrets Mark II, that they're called in the Star Wars Wikipedia. It's not Wikipedia, it's Wikipedia. Nice pun on the Wikipedia site. But if you want to make sure that it looks a little bit grimier, if you like, you can, if you want to, use colors such as Typhus Corrosion or Riser Rust to make sure that you get all that rust and grime effect, if you like, as well. You can also use other shades such as Sepia Shade, as well as Agrex Earth Shade, if you want a more warmer colors into the laser turret. So otherwise, you're looking quite okay. I'm leaving this one as it is, and that's a short tutorial how to paint the laser turrets for Star Wars Battle of Hoth, which is a board game published by Days of Wonder. And there will be coming an upcoming tutorial how to play this game when everything is painted. Coming up next is going to be these bad boys, these speeders, which is going to come up next on the channel. And then after that, we're going to paint the Rebel Troopers, and then we have a full tutorial for the entire game, which is something I normally don't do, but I really like this game and I really enjoyed playing it. So thank you very much to Days of Wonder for producing this amazing game, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and also thank you so much to all of you who actually made me reach 500 subscribers. I reached that today, it made me really happy. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider to do so to help with the algorithm. Otherwise, have a wonderful day.